Hello, everybody, and welcome to my very late and much anticipated vlog video informational session about my trip with One Heart Source to Cape Town, South Africa. I want to start by talking about One Heart Source as a group. One Heart Source is the group that I went with to Cape Town. They are a non-profit organization that is based out of Cape Town, Jamaica, and Tanzania. One Heart Source was started by actually a UCLA student who traveled abroad to Tanzania in his third year at UCLA. While he was there, he discovered that there was a huge problem involving the HIV/AIDS crisis and the generation gap in Tanzania. What he observed was a problem where a lot of grandparents were having to take care of all of their grandchildren because AIDS was wiping out so much of that middle generation. So One Heart Source came about in an attempt to solve a little bit of that problem. They wanted to build a school, daycare, orphanage kind of center for these children to alleviate some of the stress and the pressure on the grandparents and to give the children a place to learn and grow and just be kids. The problem was that most of the volunteers came from America and did not speak Swahili, and most of the children did not speak English. So what they wanted to do was take these kids into this school, orphanage, daycare center and teach them about the spread of AIDS so that those kids could then be the ambassadors of that information in their community or to their kids or to their siblings or their cousins or whoever was in their social circle. But it wasn't easy to relay that information to them because they couldn't, one, understand English, let alone understand graphs or statistics. So they had to kind of start from scratch and start teaching them English. And then from there, start teaching them basic math. And then from there, move on to basic biology. And then from there, move on to the spread of disease. And to this day, that is what is going on in the One Heart Source programs. But these programs talk about things like viruses and bacteria and the tree of life and reproduction and things that are very specific to the spread of AIDS because that is their main idea. In addition to that, these kids, once they reach like the 7th, 8th grade level, they have to apply to high school in South Africa. So through this program, they get exposed to more English speakers, which is helpful. They get exposed to more math tutoring, more biology tutoring. It makes them overall more confident in their abilities as a student and helps them get into high school. After they get into high school, one of the main purposes of the Health Innovation Program is to give them a leg up so that they already understand some of the functions of the cell. They understand the spread of bacteria, things like that that could potentially help them so that if what they one day do get into medical school, they can write to their mentors and say, hey, it's me. I got into medical school. Could you possibly sponsor me? Would you think about making a donation to my medical school fund and things like that so that hopefully these kids can one day actually get a medical school education and then return to their community to help with this same crisis. So in this case, they would return to this community called Imizamo Yetu in Cape Town that has a shortage of doctors. There are two programs, Youth Empowerment and Health Innovation. Youth Empowerment is the one that helps with the rudimentary math and English skills, and Health Innovation, the one I was in, is the one that helps with basic biology and learning about spread of disease. The application process was very easy. If you are a potential applicant, you know what it was like. You just go online, you fill out an application, and they get back to you within the week. I thought there was no way I was going to get in, that it was going to be super selective, that it was going to be impossible for this to become a reality. But then I got the email that was like, yo, come to South Africa. And I was like, sounds good. The preparing part was awful. I have never been out of the country. I don't even have a passport. Well, I do now, but at the time I didn't. So I had 8 weeks to get a passport. I am living on my own in LA. My parents are not there with me. Getting a passport was insanely and unnecessarily stressful. It was right before summer started. It was at a time of a lot of political turmoil. A lot of people wanted an American passport. at that time. And it just felt like there was so much pressure on something that was out of my control. Then there was the whole booking the plane ticket issue, where this plane ticket was $1,000, and if I messed up and went into the wrong time zone or did something wrong or clicked a button wrong or something like that, $1,000 was at stake. So it was stressful. And then lastly, there was the whole deal of moving out of my dorm and packing for Africa all on the same day, and I was there trying to prepare myself for a trip to South Africa. So it was just a lot. It was a lot. But if you're just like a normal person who isn't stressed out by little things like getting a passport and moving out of a dorm, then you will have so much fun. I did a little bit of vlogging when I was in London, at London Heathrow, so you'll see, I might put that in here. I am coming at you live from Heathrow Airport in London, England. Yeah, never in a million years did I think that I would be vlogging from London. But I'm here on a layover on my way to Cape Town, and I'll be in Cape Town for 2 weeks, and I'll be there mentoring children and working in medical facilities, I think, and learning more about medicine on a global scale through this program. My flight took about 26 hours, factoring in my 8-hour layover in London and my 1 to 2 hour layover in Johannesburg before finally getting to Cape Town. Traveling was actually very fun for me. It was my first time traveling alone, my first time traveling internationally. I felt very empowered, and in a way it was therapeutic kind of to see that I could do it all on my own. Finally, I got to Cape Town, and the One Heart Source people were waiting for me, and they took me to my hotel apartment area situation. This is what my room looked like. I had my own room, my own bathroom, and a direct view of the bay. So, like I said, the purpose of One Heart Source is to be exposed to not only the healthcare situation in South Africa, but also to help. So, the main goal is to educate these children so that one day they will be able to get into medical school and come back and serve their community. What we dealt with the children were things like health, nutrition, teen pregnancy, and HIV/AIDS, all of which are directly applicable and important to these children and their community. This is what the classroom looked like. Every day we would wait for them to finish their normal day of school, and they would come in here. And right now they're all watching a video about pathogens and bacteria and how to wash their hands correctly. Being there and living literally right next to their township kind of helps with the whole respect situation between mentor and mentee. It makes the experience much more mutualistic than it would be if this were happening over video chat, or if we were not going to their school or something like that. So my kids, my favorite subject are my kids, or my mentees, but I call them my kids because they're my kids. So I had two. One was a girl named Eva, and the other was a boy named Lihle. They were complete opposites, nothing similar at all, except for the fact that they both completely brightened up my day every time I saw them. They were the light of my trip. I can't even explain how much love I have for those kids after 2 weeks of knowing them. It's unexplainable how much love I feel for them. These are some of the many pictures I have that we took on my laptop on one of our first days of being together. This just really describes them pretty well. You can see what kind of personalities they have. Look how cute that is! Eva was loud and spunky, and she made me laugh every 5 seconds, and she loved to watch TLC and talk about her favorite movies, and God, she was so funny. This is a picture of Eva and I in front of the school, and we also filmed a video to Nasser, my boyfriend, that I will attach right after this. Hi.
Hi.
Say hi, Nasser.
What?
Say hi, Nasser. That's his name.
Hi, Nasser.
What's your name?
My name is Eva, and Nina is my mentor.
You were saying.
Okay. Nina is such a very wonderful person, and I love being with her.
Thank you.
Great.
Wow.
Superb.
Singing my praises. All right, this is gonna end. Li was quiet and shy, and he liked to play games on the whiteboard and play outside with his friends and wear his hood on his head even when inside. But his smile melted my heart every time, and if I made him laugh even one time during mentorship, I considered that a success, absolutely. Lile really loved to use Snapchat, so here's some pictures of him with the dog filter and the peach filter. What's your name?
Hi, Nasser. My name is Lily.
Yes, that was perfect. What's your favorite color?
And my favorite color is lemon.
Lemon. I love it. All right. Just those kids, seeing them happy was the most important thing to me. Like, educating them, yes. That is the purpose of being there. That is what we took most seriously. That is what dominated our conversation. But what I remember now and what made a lasting impression on me was how much these kids want to learn and how much they have to go through every day, and like making sure they ate and making sure that they weren't being bullied and things like that, were like their well-being meant so much more to me. I wanted to make sure that they were happy in any way that I could. And in a way, they were happy through learning, and they were happy through interacting with each other and with me. And so that was helpful. But sometimes they just needed to talk. They just needed a break. They just needed to go play outside with their friends. And that was equally as important, if not more important, than making sure they knew the difference between a virus and a bacteria. So the people I met in South Africa were straight up some of the coolest people, some of the funniest people I have ever met in my life. I have so many clips of us together, so I'm just gonna dive into that and do a little voiceover action so that you guys can see as well as hear my take on all the people that I met while I was there. So first up is Kate. She was in my apartment with me and was also in Health Innovation. She is from Minneapolis and is living her best life there. Her stories made me crack up. She is so funny. She made me laugh like every 5 seconds, and I am so glad I met her. Next up is Angela. She's from Akron, Ohio. She works at the Vera Bradley there. Get you 50% off with her employee discount. She is also so funny. She's just the kind of person that you could talk to her and she doesn't even try to be funny. She'll just say something and you'll be laughing for like 10 minutes. And we took so many pictures together. We spent so much time together. She reminds me of one of my closest childhood friends named Kylie. You can see in these pictures, she's always making me smile. She's such a good time and I honestly miss her so much. She did not actually live in our apartment with us, but she was over there all the time and was an honorary member of our apartment. So that's Angela. Next is the dynamic duo of Alexis and Shantae. I don't have any pictures of just us three, but they go together because they are both from the University of Kentucky and both are super sweet. They're the two on the right of me right here in blue hats. They are best friends and they were always giggling, always keeping it real. Their southern accents were the cutest thing and I always loved having them around. They made everything just so much more fun. You guys want to say hi to my vlog? Hey, say hi. Alexis is uninterested. Oh, there we go. Doesn't matter to me. Hi. No one say hi. I'm just kidding. Hi. The last member of our apartment is Haley. She recently moved to Nevada. And you can see her here drinking a mojito that is made for 8 people all on her own. Also, Haley really loves lions. This is Rachel. She is from Michigan and she is one of the sweetest girls I've ever met. The thing about Rachel is I feel like we both had the same level of patience. So when Rachel was over it, I was also over it. But Rachel and I just had so much fun together. You can see, I have a ton of pictures of her, me, and Angela together. And she's such a good time, such a sweet girl, and I'm so glad we met. Last up is my girl Riri. Her name is Riri, but if you say that it's like Rihanna, she is not amused. She is one of our culture coaches. She grew up in Africa and is one of just like the chillest people that I met there, but also one of the people with the most heart and soul. And I'm really glad I got to know someone like her. So we went on a lot of excursions. My definition of an excursion is anytime we left our apartment complex to not go to the school. So anytime we went anywhere other than the school. So the first thing we did is we went on the Walk of Iwai. And that was the most eye-opening part of the program, but also it was the first thing that happened. So it had a ton of impact all at once. So Iwai, Imazami-Yetu, is a township that was created during apartheid / after apartheid. You can see, it is tangible, how apartheid contributed directly to the segregation of people. The lack of housing, the extreme poverty, the lack of health care for the poor, the extreme crowding of local health centers and clinics and the institutions that are set up to accommodate that. Also, we walked through the houses. We got to see some people don't have a refrigerator, running water, a toilet, a bed, and walking through, and I'm holding my iPhone 6 and wearing clothes that probably cost as much as 3 days of electricity for them. And you walk through and you realize how little people have there, and how much you have, and how little you have thought about this disparity in your life, and the way that they all work to help each other, the way that they all know each other, the way they treat each other with respect, for the most part, is so admirable. At one point, I was walking through the township, and I reached into my pocket and realized my debit card wasn't where it usually is. And usually, if I were here, I would have freaked out if I'd lost my debit card. I would have been like, this is the end of the world. But I was there, and I was just thinking, I'll cancel it when I get back, and I'll get a new one, and this won't matter. At least I have clothes. At least I have a bed. At least I have a toilet. And I was completely calm about the fact that I'd lost my debit card. And I realized that things are so much more important. Also, the children there are so happy. Walk into a preschool here and all the kids, I don't know, they'll be sitting down, they might be coloring, they might be drawing, they might be dancing, they might be outside at recess, I don't know. But preschools there, I've never seen that much happiness in one room. And then, later that night, I experienced what it was like to go out and be of drinking age for the first time. So that was really fun. Being of drinking age is pretty awesome. I'm stoked. Alright. Those experiences, the experiences of just having fun and meeting new people, are just as important as the really serious times where I taught a kid what a nucleus was, you know? We went on a health walk to the local clinics. It was me and my friend Jerry and one of the culture coaches, and we went on home visits to the people of the community who were either elderly or injured or couldn't come to the clinic for some reason. We helped with little things like bathing or applying ointment or explaining what medication meant, just little things that will lighten the burden of the family and maybe help bring the community closer together. We delivered condoms to help stop the spread of AIDS. Seeing how they address the HIV/AIDS crisis in that little area, it's through a volunteer occupational therapist and volunteer nurses and an abundance of condoms. One of the coolest things was that they accommodated both heterosexual and homosexual couples, because the spread of this disease is serious, and you can't afford to tiptoe around things like that when lives are at stake. Every move I made and every action that I did was directly impacting someone's life, and it felt so important. And I have never felt more fulfilled, in my entire life. The directors have these talks with the members of the program, and they call them dialogues. So we had 2, and the first one was about optimism, and we took a quiz as a group about how we thought the state of the world was. It asked us questions like, what percentage of the world's infants are vaccinated against the measles or mumps? Or, on average, how many years of education do women receive worldwide? And we always assumed, like, the worst, or, like, the moderate amount. But in reality, the world has made so much progress that we don't think about. And I kind of think it's for 2 reasons. One, it's because I know that I possess so much privilege that I assume that those who don't have the amount of privilege that I do have so much less. And I'm not wrong in that sense. Like, that is true in some cases. But I also can't ignore the fact that the world has made so much progress. You can't ignore that and think that America is the only country that's educating women and vaccinating their kids. That is happening worldwide to the majority of the world. And that's awesome. And we should celebrate that. But what we kind of realized is that the media has such a huge part in relaying information, and they don't relay all that awesome information a lot of the time because they relay information that scares you and information that gets your attention rather than information that makes you feel happy inside, because fear is a stronger emotion. And that sucks because it makes me disillusioned with the rest of the world and how much progress is being made. Our second dialogue was specifically about AIDS and HIV and the stigma around it, and how that is also facilitated by the media and then reinforced by society itself. So we talked about how a lot of the stigma around AIDS has affected the LGBTQ community and how the media has handled the AIDS outbreak or not handled the AIDS outbreak. We talked about how to handle that subject with our kids or our mentees and how to make sure that they knew the specifics about treatment, about how it spreads, about protection, about all the really important things that directly matter to this group of people. We had an awesome experience where we got to learn their language, the Isitkosa language. We had this guy named Sim who came and taught us. He was awesome. I wish I could hang out with Sim every day. I hope he's doing well. Quick lesson. Hello in Isitkosa is molo if you were talking to one person, or molueni if you're talking to many people. There are a lot of languages in Africa. Most speak English, but most people also speak about 4 languages. Then we went to the University of the Western Cape with our kids, and that was a chance to show them that there is a college out there that they can go to, that they can get into, and they are able to be in a college environment, and that is able to inspire them so that they're more motivated to work hard in school and get to college.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
This is one of the many amazing views that inspired me and makes me want to go back to South Africa so badly. Everything there is so incredibly beautiful. It's yeah. And then that weekend we explored South Africa. So there are lots of clips of that I will show you now. This is a video from the Friday night market at Hout Bay. So everyone from all over comes and orders dinner, orders desserts. There's live music, you can hang out. It's kind of just like part of the nightlife of the city and of Cape Town in general. You can buy absolutely anything there. You can buy clothes, you can buy, as you can see, all this food is so good and it's all so cheap. That is me and Rachel. We were really pumped and
Hi, Vlog!
yeah, it's just like a really good, yeah, I'm just really bopping. You can see that Friday night was a really good time. The drummer was like 70, 80 years old. He was just out there drumming his heart out. So yeah, that's kind of just like the market scene, and this was the view on the way home from the market of the nightlife of Hout Bay. This was one of the most incredible things. It was the African safari. So I went with my roommates and Angela and everyone. There you can see a giraffe just chilling. It is spending time in its home. We saw tons of giraffes that day. That's a wildebeest, I think. They're like pretty ugly. These are some zebras and some buffalo, and you can see the antisocial buffalo way over there. He's just chill. Oh, zebra. I'm sorry. My bad. That is our tour guide. His name is Gamel, and we are all obsessed with him. He's beautiful. And then there's also the giraffe. He's nice too. Hi. Hello. But I probably was filming this because I wanted to get footage of Gamel, let's be honest. Angela actually found his Facebook at one point. Also, that's an elephant. That was a cool part. Here we have the lion that Haley was really upset that he did not warn us that the lions were in their own little encampment. And this is the sunset on the way home from the safari because the safari was so far away. But it's so beautiful. Who really cares, right? This is the market that is outside. It's kind of also right on the water. And we met there we went on a tour of the Western Cape, me, Kate, and Angela.
Hi, vlog. I'll see you in London. See you in London.
That is, if you look closely, it's a monkey. They're just like monkeys roaming the streets of Cape Town. Like, okay, we stopped and looked, but that's a completely normal occurrence. Look at him. Isn't that wild?
So later on, when you're going to cycle, you're going to walk in the park, please, if you've got any food.
We saw the penguins at Simonstown.
Hi there. Oh, he's embarrassed. No,
That was absolutely... This was one of the views at Simonstown. It's completely blue water. Sites like that,
It's like
I've just never seen anything like
town. It's like
anywhere in
Sutter's Town or
California.
like, I'm not sure. Damn.
This is all real fossils of whale bones. I think I go back, yeah. That's like the spine or the vertebrae. And then those are other bones that belong to a whale. This is one of the highest points on the Western Cape. You can see all the way around. It's like a lighthouse.
Hey, so right now we are at Cape Point, hanging out. This is our view. It's Cape. We just went up to a lighthouse. I'm probably going to put some footage of that. And where else are we going on after this? Anywhere?
I think this is it.
And then we're heading home. So, thanks for tuning in. Cheers.
At one point in the day, we also visited the part where Vasco da Gama thought he discovered the southernmost tip of Africa, but it was actually the western tip of Africa. Week 2, we started out our excursions by going to this woman named Mama Mdoda. Her story is amazing. So one day she was at a health clinic with her daughter, and outside someone fainted. So she walked up to that person and helped, give them water, kind of got them back to normal, and was like, hey, are you okay? Why'd you faint? And he said something along the lines of, I haven't eaten in 3 days, and when I haven't eaten in a long time, my medication makes me pass out. So she was like, okay, tomorrow I'm going to be here. I'm going to bring you soup, and I'm going to make sure you have something in your stomach when you take your medication. So it started just like that, and she went home that day, she made soup, and the next day she walked the 2-mile walk to the clinic, and she served that guy a lunch. And then she realized this is a problem that a lot of people face. A lot of people's medication doesn't even take effect if they don't have food in their stomach, and she was like, okay, I'm going to help as many people as I can, and would walk 3 or 4 times a week, every other day, to the clinic to feed people to make sure they had something to eat. The Rotary Club of South Africa got a hold of her and started sponsoring her. So rather than walking every day, she now had transportation, and rather than using this little pot, she had a pretty big pot that could serve about 50 people. And they gave her about $200 a month to serve 50 people every other day. So she makes a lot of stew. She uses a lot of vegetables. Sometimes she uses meat, but not often. She isn't able to afford all that she wishes she could afford to feed these people. But because of her, people are living. And she's incredible. She does it out of the goodness of her heart. She doesn't expect anything in return. After Mama Mdoda, we walked around Iwai with one of our culture coaches, Lelo, and he kind of got to show us where he hangs out and where like he and his friends go on a weekend and stuff like that. And it was cool because like Lila's our age, so it was cool to see the contrast between like what he does on a weekend and what I do on a weekend, which is study always. You could also go like into the bay and you could eat and have a nice like seafood dinner, and there was a Ferris wheel and there was a mall, so we went there and had a nice seafood dinner, just like me and the roommates plus Angela.
Someone.
You did.
Because you almost walked into someone, and so I was trying to make
Oh
way.
wait, we haven't gone down this pathway?
Literally where we start.
No, but we didn't go down here. Okay.
Yes, because look,
The next day we went to an excursion with this guy named Sizwe. So Sizwe is one of Forbes 30 Under 30, and what he did was he started his own business where he delivers medication and TB tests and pregnancy tests to the people of his township on a bike. And he has about like 15 bikes, maybe more, and I'll attach footage of all of that. So footage start now. So the way it started was his grandma needed her medication, but she couldn't go to the clinic herself and get it, so he went and got it for her every day. But once he went away to college, he realized he wouldn't be there every day to give her medication. So he kind of started this program where it was possible for people to have their medicine delivered to them. And he spearheaded it all. And he started with maybe 2 people, and then it spread to 10 people, and now most of his township is subscribed to him. And he's able to build his brand. He was able to build his brand online, which is how he became one of Forbes 30 Under 30. His business is called the Aiza Express, and he, every day, that's his job. He has a staff, he has bikes, so we were able to go with him and actually deliver medication with him on his normal route. He also took us to get coffee. That was really cool. He's just a really cool guy who had a really awesome idea and is helping tons of people in his community get the resources that they deserve. And it was so cool to just see that. Additionally, the stigma of AIDS is actually huge in South Africa, and a lot of people are ashamed to be seen walking into a clinic. So Sizwe also helps with that because they are able to just get their medication at home without the embarrassment.
Guys,
Hi.
hey Caesar, want to say something to my vlog?
What can I say?
You could just say, hello, I'm
We're
Caesar.
having fun.
We also went to the University of Cape Town. I'm really self-conscious of the way that I say Cape Town, and I think it's like Cape Town, but sometimes I say Cape Town or something different, and Angela and Kate would always make fun of me for it, so I'm sorry if that bothers you. A medical student talked to us one-on-one about his experience in medical school, and I will talk about that later. And lastly, our last excursion was to District 6, which was this district that was evacuated during apartheid. And Ruth was our tour guide, and she was actually evacuated during the time of apartheid and now is back living in District 6 and working at the District 6 Museum, talking about her firsthand experiences and talking about apartheid in general. So my biggest takeaway of that day was we talked about a ton of the similarities between apartheid and the Holocaust. There was a lack of resistance. It was all based around white supremacy and began with stripping them of their right to vote, dehumanizing them, subjecting them to emotional and psychological abuse, and giving privilege to people who abuse their power, and then progressing to relocation and physical oppression, and having that be a practically seamless transition because of the dehumanization that had already taken place. That blew my mind. The way IY started was they needed a place to go, and there was this plot of land, and they gave them a small plot of land for about, 500 people. Now there are upwards of 2,000 people living in that same plot of land. Being in a museum where we saw things like what a room was like after relocation, what one family was allowed to live in after relocation, and now see firsthand still today how those effects are affecting Cape Town, it's like sickening that people think that they can treat other people that way. So one of our last nights there, we went to Culture Night where everyone spoke some slam poetry and we all just hung out and had a nice dinner, and it was a super nice time. So nearing the end of the trip, me and my friends wanted to go to Table Mountain the morning of our trip, and my flight got changed and it had to go way earlier. So I had to stay in my room and call my travel agents, and there was a bunch of drama and it was a huge hassle, but that finally got taken care of. We went to the market one more time and that was fun. It was like a last hurrah with everyone that I'd met there. The next morning, we are getting ready to go. All my roommates and friends have left to go to Table Mountain, and I'm alone in the room. I'm chilling. I go out to turn in my key and get ready to go, and all my roommates are still there. And I'm like, what are you guys doing here? And they're like, all the roads are closed because apparently people are rioting in the streets. And what had happened was there was a fire in Aiwai, but the government refused to give them any resources. So they were rioting. And every road out of Hout Bay to the airport was closed. Every road. So we are thinking we're going to miss our flights. We're going to have to pay for a new flight to America. We're stuck here for we don't know how long. I was thinking my mom's going to be so mad.
So the plan just now was to walk out of the bay, Hout Bay, past the traffic cones that I don't know if you can see. Everyone say hi to my vlog.
Hi.
But now the road is
They're running
open.
towards us.
No.
Wait, what? I don't know. What are they trying to tell us?
No, Riri. That was less dramatic than I thought it was. Riri, say hi to my vlog.
Are we good?
Okay. So now we are able to drive because a road is open. We think.
All right, let's go.
Let's just,
Let's do this.
Okay.
One of the huge takeaways I had is that I am definitely studying abroad. I want to go everywhere. I want to go back to South Africa. It made me realize how much of the world I want to see and how much I have yet to learn. It's gonna happen. I don't know how I'm gonna pay for it, but it's gonna happen. I'm gonna see the world. I have to. One of the other huge takeaways I took from that University of Cape Town visit was that being a doctor or a health professional is so similar to being a teacher. A doctor can't be a good doctor if they're not a good teacher, because a good doctor educates and treats their patients and gives them a healthy body and a stable mind, and that works together to overcome a disease. And a good doctor, especially in rural areas or areas beyond the first world, need to be able to educate their patients on everything that is happening. And giving them an education gives them something to understand and a foundation upon which they can build their thoughts and feelings. And even if that education requires the understanding of bad news, they're assured in their knowledge and they're able to create a psychological state that can be helpful or productive because they understand what is happening within them. And in that way, education helps eradicate fear, and it builds a healthy individual, and healthy individuals build a healthy community. All the focus on HIV and AIDS also confirmed my passion for education of sexual health and treatment, especially for women. Every second that we were there, we were working toward improving the state of the HIV crisis in Africa. And whether that's by being in clinics or learning about Sizwe and how entrepreneurs can improve the well-being of a community with just a bike and a bag of medication, or we're working with the children to educate them and prepare them for medical school and prep them to come back to Aiwai, I felt alive every second of it. So when Daniel, the med student, was talking about all the work he does in rural areas and all the people that he's helped, I realized that I want to go into medicine. I feel alive when I am contributing to something bigger than me and something bigger than us. I'm contributing to a sense of safety and a sense of life and a sense of education and a sense of belonging and community and love. I'm doing all of that, and it makes me feel alive, and it's what I want to do for the rest of my life. And I just want to be a small part of a machine that contributes to a thriving society, or even just a thriving person. Some of the poetry that we listened to, specifically Christina, who is my director, the director of Health Innovation, talked about social media. And she called people out for social media helping, which is privileged people thinking anything that they give to the poor is something that they should be grateful for and overly thankful for, because it's such a burden for the privileged to be in somewhere like IY, she said things like, as long as you have your precious Wi-Fi, and clutch that little brown child a little tighter, and things like that, that I realized I was guilty of. I was guilty of always being on Wi-Fi. I was guilty of wanting people to see what I was doing in Africa and that I was helping. And I was guilty of thinking that that was something that I needed recognition for. That's just a normal human thing, to help people who are less fortunate than you. That's not something that you need to be praised for doing. I did see Yiva as my mentee, but I also saw her as a friend, and I respect her, and I learned from her, and I don't think I gave her anything, because she gave me so much more than anything I could possibly give her. It was not an act of charity. I was learning every second that I was with her, and it was hard for me to walk into that classroom every day and try to teach her and Lile. It wasn't like I was giving them some great gift. All of us were in that classroom trying to connect with these children on an educational, but also like an emotional and personal level. And even if it wasn't much, it was something, and it felt really important. So when Christina read that poem, it felt like a stab in the heart, because the fact that I had posted a picture with Yiva, it seemed as if that was seen as something that was disrespectful, and as if that was something I was trying to flaunt. But in reality, that's not what was happening. I don't think Yiva has to be grateful to me at all. If anything, I am grateful to her. So yeah. Also, I had 5 main takeaways of this trip, and they are: some people are immature, some people are entitled, people are privileged, people are passionate, and people are kind. So thank you so much for watching. Feel free to reach out to me if you are a potential One Heart Source applicant, or if you want to hear more about my trip. I would be glad to talk to you about it. Thank you so much. Bye.